Okay, today we are going to continue with multiplying fractions, only we're going to look at them in the form of mixed numbers. This is going to be a pretty short video. It's mainly the same. There's just a couple things that we really have to look out for. So, slide one is what not to do because I do see this stuff all the time. So let's look at, say, 2.5 times 1.5. So do not multiply the whole numbers and then multiply the fractions. The answer to this is not 2.25. Anytime you do this, you're going to end up with an answer that's actually smaller than what you're looking for. So the answer to this, like I said, is not 2.25. I got that 2.25 by multiplying 2 times 1 and then 1/2 times 1/2, and that's not right. I see it all the time though, so I'm warning you ahead of time. Do not do it that way. What we want to do is use improper fractions instead and then multiply. So let's do a quick refresher on how to convert to improper fractions. So let's convert these. There are 2 halves in a whole. So if we look at 2 wholes, that's 4 halves. So I'm looking at this 2.5 right here, and I want to put it into halves. And I know that if I've got 2 wholes, that's the same thing as 4 halves. We started out with this 1/2, so we add the 4 that we just made, and now we have 5 halves. So 2.5 is the same thing as 5 halves, or 5/2. We can do the same thing, multiply 1 times 2, and then add 1 to show that 1.5 is equal to 3 halves. And then just in general, what we can do is multiply the whole number, so like the 2, times the denominator, the bottom number, and then add that number to the numerator. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5. That's where we got the 5 there. So this is going to be your new numerator, and then we just keep the same denominator. If it's halves, we keep it as halves. Thirds, fourths, fifths, whatever. We keep the same denominator, at least until we multiply. Let's try a few of these. So let's multiply 2.5 times 1.5, and what do you get? So like it showed in the last slide, this is the same thing as saying 5 halves times 3 halves, which is 15 halves, which is a fine answer if you want to leave it improper. Or we can change that back to a mixed number by dividing 15 by 2, which is 7 with a remainder of 1. So 7.5 would be our mixed number. Second one here, let's try multiplying 4 3/4 times 2 2/3. Okay, first things first, let's change them to improper fractions. So we're going to have 19/4 times 8/3, which is equal to 152/12, which does reduce to 38/3, or we can put it back into a mixed number as 12 2/3. If you remember from class earlier, we said that we could actually simplify this before we multiply. So we could change this to 19/1 times 2/3 if we simplify this 8 and this 4. And then 19 times 2 is 38. 1 times 3 is 3. So we would end up with the exact same answer. It just depends if you want to simplify before the multiplication or if you want to simplify after the multiplication. Okay, last one. Let's multiply 3 1/5 times 3 2/5. So let's change those both to improper fractions in fifths. What we'll have is 16/5 times 17/5. There is nothing that we can simplify there. 5 does not go into 16 and 5 does not go into 17. So we just multiply them together and we get 272 25ths. And if we want to change that back to a mixed number, we could call it 10 23 25ths. So essentially this is the same process that we were using before. It's just that we need to change those mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So one last warning, do not try to multiply these when they're still mixed numbers. Change them to the other fractions first, then multiply. If you do it while they're mixed numbers, you will not get the right answer. It has something to do with the distributive property, which we will go over later in this course. But for right now, just know that that will get you the wrong answer. So don't do it.